Hey, what's going on everyone, and today I'm going to be doing a somewhat different video. A video I've wanted to redo for a while now. So about a year and a half ago, after a long break from YouTube, I came back, and one of the first videos I did after this return was I made an Isekai anime tier list. Now it's been over a year since I've been back, and now I'm like really back into YouTube. Like I'm finally used to this whole thing, making videos, kind of doing this stuff on a semi-consistent basis now. And not to mention, in the past year, I have really dived into the isekai scene, so I've kind of wanted to redo this list for a while now. So instead of redoing that exact same list, I decided I'm going to start completely fresh. I have made my own tier list template, and trust me guys, that was easier said than done. And I have 28 isekai anime that I have selected for this tier list that I have seen personally. So there are no never watched on this list. That was the main thing. I wanted to make sure they were anime that I've seen, so every single one can get a proper placement. Considering my channel has been pretty much dedicated to Overlord for the past few months, you can say I'm pretty invested in isekai. I mean, I've literally seen every single one of these shows, and if I did the math right, that's over 700 episodes. And if I did the time right, that's almost 11 days worth of just watching isekai anime. So clearly I've put all my eggs in this basket. But I really just wanted to remake this video. I thought it'd be fun to do like a longer video. Now, I'm not planning to discuss like the anime like super in depth, so if you're looking for like a review of each of these shows, that's not what this video is. Maybe you'll hear about some isekai anime or get a general idea about some isekai anime and what I think of them, so if my opinion matters to you at all. So with that being said, let's get into the list. So I'm not going in any particular order. I think we should just grab one and roll with it from there. So actually, you know what, let's start with a newer one. Let's start with the Skeleton Knight in Another World. This one is one that came out this season, or actually last season. I kind of watched it on a whim because the name was funny. But you know what? I like to call it Overlord Light is what I call it. If Ainz was a good guy. The characters are cool. I really like the main elf girl, and also the ninja girl is pretty cool. It's a lot more generic than Overlord is, or a lot of other isekais on this list, but it does have an enjoyable story, and like, you know, it has the gimmick it runs with, and a lot of these isekais are just like isekai but with a gimmick. The show was enjoyable to watch. I did actually, you know, I ended up watching it in like maybe like 2 or 3 sittings after it came out. I think C tier for Skeleton Knight in Another World. It's not a fantastic show. It's not for everyone. It's still moderately generic, but it was a fun watch. I had fun watching it, so I think C tier is good for that. Demon Lord Retry right here. I hate to admit it, but I really liked the show. This is one that not a lot of people have talked about, and I can see why. I have to say the one big negative about this show is technically it's pretty awful. The animation is not very good in this show, I will say that. Once again, it's an OP guy gets dropped in his game avatar into this new world. It wasn't really the setting that was drawing me in. It was the characters more than anything. I think it relies really heavily on the characters too. I found this one really fun, but I do think it's a lower quality show. I don't think it breaks into the B tier. It's either C or D tier. I think I enjoyed it too much to put it in D tier. Okay, how about we get this one out of the way right now? Overlord, we all know that one's going up here for me. I mean, I feel like that's kind of obvious. Let's just get that one out of the way. Nani? Not only do I have a brand to maintain, but I also genuinely think that Overlord is an S tier isekai. I just think Overlord's fantastic because this world is actually populated by real characters, that the author Maruyama decided to actually spend time building a world for our character to live in, and he interacts with it, and he changes it and influences it, and you know, there's so much good I could say about Overlord. We'd be here all day. I think it's obvious for anyone that's watched my videos that Overlord's going in S tier. This is a no-brainer. You know, while we're in this area, let's just grab this one. So I'm a Spider, So What? Or Kumo Desuka Nanika, I think is how it's pronounced. You know what, with this show, I'm a little mixed because I really liked the first half of this show, and the second half, not so much. The storyline is pretty much broken up into like several different viewpoints. Really, it's 2 stories. It's the story with the human group, and then the story with the spider. Honestly, every time the humans were on screen, I just wanted them to be off so I could go back to the spider. Like, the human storyline is so much less interesting than the spider storyline. And also, I gotta admit, on a technical level, the CGI in the fight scenes in this show is really, really bad. But as far as the story's concerned, though, I do like it. I like the fact that they start off as like this really weak spider, and they actually have to like grind up and it shows progression like kind of in an organic way. I think this one's better than Demon Lord Retry. I'm gonna put it in B tier. I think this show's pretty good. It definitely has a somewhat of a different feel than a lot of these guys. It feels a little more mature. I enjoyed this show a lot, particularly for the first half. The second half took a bit of a dive, but the first half is really good in my opinion. So yeah, I'll put it in B tier. I might move it down. I kind of want to see where a few more of these things fall and how they fit together, and I might reevaluate some of these placements. Ooh, last time I got reincarnated as a slime. I know like the general idea of where I want this one to go, but I don't know exactly. You know, I said in my slime isekai videos a while back that if I remade a tier list, I'd put it in S. But you know, I've been like watching a lot of different shows. Is Slime Isekai worthy of S? Honestly, in the big scheme of isekais here, what am I saying? Of course it is. Yeah, Slime Isekai is an S tier. I already have given my thoughts on Slime Isekai. If you guys want to watch my videos on those, the story's great, the characters are great. I love the whole kind of like slice of life but not aspect of it. Similar to Overlord, I really appreciate the world building that's been done in Slime Isekai and how much time they actually spend. You know, like creating and deconstructing this world around these characters. And actually, while we're on here, another easy S tier, I'll just go ahead and knock out. There's two more that are easy S tiers on this list for me. That's Drifters is the first one of those for me personally. Drifters is an isekai anime that no one knows about, no one talks about, but in my opinion is one of the best isekais. I actually think I might like this show more than Overlord. I am a little biased towards Drifters because I'm such a history nerd, especially Japanese history, and Drifters just kind of is an isekai that was made for me with, you know, the historical figures being brought to the new world and everything, and I just love that stuff. I'm geeking out so bad every time I watch it. I think it's a fantastic show, but particularly in the isekai genre, it's a gem. So that, I think it deserves S tier. Okay, and the other easy S tier on this list is, of course, Konosuba. This one, instant S tier. Probably the funniest show on this list. Like, there are so few anime, especially comedy anime, that have ever made me just laugh out loud. But Konosuba is just a genuinely hilarious, fun show to watch, and that's why it deserves S tier, and it's just an amazing isekai anime. Okay, on the opposite end of the spectrum, instant F tier. Isekai Cheat Magician are going right there. That is the anime that was made by Google Trends. Watching Isekai Cheat Magician for me felt like going and taking an exam for a class that I hate, but I have to get through it. And I remember what's really funny is one of my friends who really loves Isekai anime too, he messaged me. And he goes, hey man, have you ever seen Isekai Cheat Magician? And I told him to skip it. He's like, why? And I'm like, dude, it's garbage. And he's like, no man, I have to watch it. And then a few hours later, he messages me and he goes, I got through episode 3 and that's it. I'm done with the show. There's just nothing special about this show at all. You can literally predict how everything is going to go in that show. It's so generic, brutally generic. And like I said, it feels like it was made by a computer. Like it's just like something trying to cash in on the Isekai trend. So it F tier, and you know what else belongs in F tier with it? This one. This is called Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody. The same problem exists in this show as it does in Isekai Cheat Magician. The worst thing about Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody is the main character just doesn't have any goals. He's kind of just like going around just doing whatever. There's no like actual goal he sets for himself. And he gets like this weird ass harem, and like half the girls he's like lugging around are like 10. It's such a weird show, and like I said, it's aggressively generic. There's just absolutely nothing special about Death March, and it blows dicks out of ass. It is so bad. So yeah, F tier on that one. On a better note, let's talk Rising of the Shield Hero. So I might have messed up with this one because I haven't seen season 2 of Shield Hero, and apparently season 2 like kicked it down like a notch, apparently. But going off of what I saw, which is I watched the entire first season of Shield Hero, and I thought it was fantastic. I really liked the first season of Shield Hero. But going off what I've seen with season 1, I think Shield Hero deserves a solid A tier. I don't think Shield Hero quite breaks into S tier though. It's such a good show. The first season, like I said, I'm only talking about season season 1 right now, but it's still a fantastic isekai, so I hope A tier is doing it justice. Let's pull this one up. World's Finest Assassin. The full title is World's Finest Assassin gets reincarnated in another world as an aristocrat. You know, I thought this one was actually alright. They did put enough spins on it to make it a little more exciting. I do have a whole video on like my first impressions of this, and one of my favorite things about it was that before his reincarnation, he wasn't like some NEET or some guy that's denser than a black hole. He was like a worldwide globe-trotting assassin. Like, he was really cool beforehand, and that reflects in his new personality now and his new life. The heroines are actually pretty cool too. They're also super kick-ass. Oh man, you know, it's gonna be C or D tier for this one. I think it's gonna go D tier. Actually, you know what? I think I need to reevaluate some of these. Whoa, is World's Finest Assassin worse than Skeleton Knight and Demon Lord Retry? I don't think it is. Oh man, actually, yeah, World's Finest Assassin, we're moving it up to C tier. I think it's definitely not worse than these two shows. I don't think it is. I think it's actually better than Demon Lord Retry, in my opinion. I'm cool with C tier. It can't go above C tier. Ooh, Tanya, the Saga of Tanya the Evil. So actually, in my last Isekai tier list, I hadn't seen this one. This was one of the ones that I had not seen. And it's funny because I actually started watching this show because I wanted to watch Isekai Quartet because I had seen Re:Zero, Konosuba, and Overlord, but I hadn't seen Tanya. And I was blown away by Yojo Senki. Like honestly, I think this is such a good Isekai anime. First of all, the world itself. The world itself is so cool. Like it's our world and it's World War I, except there's magic. Like that's just an awesome like setting for an Isekai anime. Just finally getting away from like traditional fantasy. It's still a fantasy world because there's magic, but it's like kind of like modern fantasy. I just really love the world of Yojo Senki. I like the whole kind of like background conflict going on between Tanya and Being X. I like that whole thing happening, and it's all being staged in like a mystical, magical World War I. So it's fantastic. Kind of similar to Shield Hero. I don't think it quite breaks into S tier, but I think it's really, really good. I really liked Tanya, but I don't think I like it as much as I like these 4 shows. Okay, here's one that I don't know where it's gonna go. High school prodigies have it easy, even in another world. This one, this one's hard for me because like it's a kind of unique premise, but it's so stupid. This is one probably not a whole lot of people have seen. This one is about a group of 7 high schoolers who are like the best in the world at their like disciplines. But it's so stupid. Like a 17-year-old is the world's best politician, and like a high schooler is the world's best surgeon, and like, oh, I'm the world's richest person in high school. They basically have like just OP-ness in whatever field they chose to do, and they get transported to this new world, and they kind of like reshape the world. The problem with this show is just every single situation these guys are put in, they just immediately get out of it. Like, oh, we need money, so they send the dude, the merchant guy, to the market like for a few days, and he's like immediately rich. And then the doctor girl can just like bring people back to life. So there's just like no problem. Like if you were dismembered, she'd put you back together and you'd be freaking Frankenstein's monster. I don't know. This show was entertaining for me, but I have to be honest with myself. I don't think it's very good. I think it's gonna be our first D tier show, and it was semi enjoyable, but I don't think I don't think it's a great show. Oh, this one is good. In Another World with my smartphone. I have to say I rewatched this actually like a couple months ago, maybe like 2 months ago. It is way worse than I remember it being. I remember it being bad, but my god, it is just so hard to sit through those episodes. How is this getting a second season? I don't understand. He just goes through everything like just so easily. There's no like central conflict at all, like through the whole first half. Like I could only get through the first half. Like I watched the first 5 episodes again, and I was like, okay, that's enough. I can't take this anymore. This guy has no goals. This guy has nothing like that he's trying to do. It's just everything good just keeps falling in his lap, and like it's so hard to get behind the relationships too, because like the little blonde girl, like she's in love with him literally within like 5 minutes of meeting him, and it's just like, oh my god, this is so hard to watch. I know some people do actually like this show. I don't know how. Despite that, I still think it's better than Isekai Cheat Magician and Death March to the... That's how much I dislike those 2 shows. So, you know what? I'm gonna put it in E tier, because I don't think it's as bad. And you know what? Another one that's gonna go in E tier is the old How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. I didn't rewatch the first season for this one this year, but I did watch season 2. And, you know, I had a couple of good chuckles. through this show, but you know, my opinion hasn't really changed on it from my first Isekai tier list. I still think it's like pretty dry, pretty shallow. I mean, it's definitely one where I have to watch like with my headphones on. That whole scene with the charging of the robot, like honestly, would this show be better as an H? I don't know really. Like I honestly can't tell you, but it might as well be. I mean, like holy crap, some of the stuff they get away with that in the show. Here's another one, Mushoku Tensei. Oh my gosh. Okay, Mushoku Tensei has to be S tier. I can't reason it being lower than S tier. Not only is Mushoku Tensei like the progenitor of all isekai, also just the quality of the story is just so good. It's a generic setup, but how they execute it is just fantastic. Character development in this show is something that is so cool to watch. I think in terms of character development, it's in the top runners for the shows on this list. And the story itself is just fantastic. Honestly, there's no reasoning Mushoku Tensei being below S tier. It's just a fantastic, not only is it a fantastic isekai anime, I truly think it's just an enjoyable, great anime, period. I think a lot of people would like it, and I also think it's great to introduce people to the isekai genre with. A newer one. This is one I watched last season. It's Trapped in a Dating Sim. The world of otome games is tough for mobs. I have mixed feelings about the anime for this, because a lot of people complained about the anime adaptation for this. The animation and art style for this anime did not reflect the manga, and that's right, I read the manga after I watched the anime, and the art is way better in the manga in my opinion. However, from a story standpoint, this show is really hilarious. I think this show's really funny. I think the story's good. The problem with it is just the execution with the characters. Really, outside of Leon and Olivia and Angelica, like, there really is no one that you give two shits about. Maybe Marie, just as like the antagonist, but like everyone else is just kind of like whatever. This one's weird for me because I have a lot of things I like about it and a lot of things I dislike about it. I think it's C tier. Because I can kind of think of equal parts what I dislike about it and what I like about it. So that makes it the middle tier. That makes sense to me. Here's one I think not a whole lot of people have seen, and that is Spirit Chronicles. I think this is what it's called. This one was actually like randomly suggested to me in the Crunchyroll feed, and I just decided to watch it. Once again, this one is generic. There's a lot of generic isekai. When I look at all these isekais like in a list, I realize how little separates all of them in terms of like their stories. I enjoyed this one pretty well. What I really liked about this one is how they kind of started him off like they show us him growing as a kid. Also, they do some world exploring in this anime and some world building, which I like. The main problems with it are the kind of like the villains. The villains are just hilariously evil, and like, you know, we're gonna just come in here for the sake of justice and take them down. The plot itself isn't really all that great. Guy gets reincarnated, goes to a school, and then goes on a journey. You know, it's kind of stuff like that, and there's nothing inherently like not enjoyable about that kind of thing. I just, after a while, you get kind of tired of it. Does do some stuff to make it unique, but I don't think it really breaks like the middle tiers. I'm gonna put this one in D tier because I don't think it's a truly like bad show. I wouldn't call it a good show. It's okay, but I didn't enjoy it as much as I did the ones in C tier. So I think D tier is a good place for it. You know what show's gonna join it right there? I know right now, Wise Man's Grandchild. That's another show I think belongs in D tier. It's a show that's all right for me. You know, like, I don't think it's insultingly bad. And one thing I actually really do like about Wise Man's Grandchild is how, like, he, like, basically uses, like, science to enhance his magic. I like that whole aspect of it. There's no conflict that he can't solve. Every conflict he gets in, I just, like, zone out because I know how this is gonna go. I think D tier is great for Wise Man's Grandchild because it's like, not an aggressively bad show. It's just, I don't like it as much as the ones in C tier, so it's going in D tier. I've been waiting to get to this one. Isekai Quartet. This is the most recent one on this list that I've watched. I just finished watching this like a couple days ago. I love this show. Like, honestly, I watched the whole thing in like 2 nights. The episodes are only 11 minutes, first of all, which is a crime. The situation they're in, being in like a school together, is so outrageous. Like, if that, but they still kind of maintain their characters, especially in the beginning parts when they're all like meeting each other and like Tanya thinks Ainz is being X, and then like they find out they're both reincarnated, like they're both isekai'd. And also just like the Easter eggs from all like the series. Now that I've seen all the series, it was so much more enjoyable, I think, to watch it having seen all 4 of those shows. And also the openings are sung by the voice actors for Kazuma, Subaru, Tanya, and Ainz, and the endings are sung by cast members too. Like this is just great for someone that likes all 4 of those shows. Isekai Quartet is a nice solid A tier. One thing that holds Isekai Quartet back in terms of like just being an isekai anime, in my opinion, is the fact that I think you have to have seen all 4 of those anime in order to get the most out of it. You'll still get something out of it if you haven't seen it, but you're gonna be lacking in terms of someone that has seen all 4 of those shows. So that's why I think it belongs in A tier. It's so funny though. It's a great show. Let's get this controversial one out of the way. All right, Sword Art Online. So in my last list, a lot of people didn't like what I said about Sword Art Online. What did he say? What the fuck? What the fuck? Because I went in on how much I dislike the show. And one of my buddies, who is a bit of a Sword Art Online fanboy, same guy I was talking about earlier, he talked me into watching Alicization. And he's like, dude, Alicization is so much better. Like, you're gonna like it again. I was like, I told myself I swear off Sword Art Online forever, but I caved and I watched Alicization. And he's right. Alicization was way better than the past few seasons. Alfheim, we don't talk about that. It's just so bad. GGO was marginally better than Alfheim. And then the whole Excalibur arc afterwards was garbage. So like there's just so much bad in SAO that to get to the good parts, Alicization is the best arc in a while. For sure. I haven't watched the second part of it, which is War of the Underworld, but I enjoyed the first half of Alicization, I will admit. So that does elevate Sword Art Online a bit, in my opinion. If you guys are hoping I completely revamp it or anything, I'm just gonna crush those hopes right now. It is not going above C tier for sure. I still don't really like Sword Art Online. I don't think it's a really great show, and honestly, I don't like how much hype it's gotten. Like, can you really tell me Sword Art Online is better than all 5 of these shows right here? Like, truly? I don't think you can. This is just one man's opinion, but like I think it doesn't deserve all the hype and like money it gets thrown at it for the movies and stuff. I think that'd be better off with something else. C tier is that's as generous as I can be. If it wasn't for Alicization, it would be D tier for sure. And the only reason it would even be high as D tier is just because of how great I remember those first 3 episodes of Sword Art Online, the first arc being. Like, when I was a kid and I watched the first 3 episodes, I, like, shit my pants. Alright, so next on the list, we have Ray Zero. So this is one on my old list. I had seen some of it. I hadn't finished it. I have finished it now. Holy crap, it's so good. This whole thing with the whole Edge of Tomorrow kind of thing with it, and also the fact, like, him with the witches and stuff. Like, there's just so many layers to this show. It's unbelievable. Ray Zero is fantastic. It really is. Oh, man. Is it S tier though? Is it S tier? Oh gosh. You know what? Yeah. Now granted, when Subaru said I love Amelia, my brain exploded because I was just like, what are you doing? But I think Ray Zero is just fantastic. Such a unique premise to it, and just the way they show the psychological effects of everything that happens with Subaru. Ray Zero is great. Next we have No Game No Life. You know what? No Game No Life, we still haven't seen it. You know, the most recent thing I have with No Game No Life is I watched the movie. Good lord, that movie was intense. I wasn't expecting that. Like, that just goes to show you how good the world is now in, like, the anime, because good lord, that world looked like it sucked to live in. The movie actually wrecked me for a little while. Like, I was, like, traumatized. The premise of it is great. Like, the whole playing games and everything. Like, everything's decided with games and whatnot. And we just also appreciate how overt the fan service in this show is. It's actually insane. I think No Game No Life's gonna go in B tier. I think it's better than these shows. I don't think it's as good as these shows. It's a show that I personally enjoy. I just don't enjoy it as much as these shows. Another show, Devil. The Devil is a part-timer. This one, oh my gosh. What, you know, if you had told me, like I said this in my last video too, but if you had asked me, like, I don't know, it's been 10 years, I think. 2013 was when it came out, so 9 years. If you had asked me 9 years ago what tier this is gonna be, it'd be S tier. I adored this show. And you know what? With season 2 airing now, I'm still having a lot of fun with it. Something about season 2, and I actually talked with one of my buddies about this recently. It's like, this has never been a serious show, but it feels even more goofy this season than it did before. I don't know why, but the first season had those moments where it got serious, like with Emmy yelling at Mao about like how he killed her father and like why is he acting this way. It had those moments at the beginning parts that kind of felt like semi-serious. I want to see like some flashbacks to like Mao before he became Demon King or something like that. Devil is a Part-Timer is actually a genuinely funny show, one of the few genuinely funny anime that even exist. I think Devil's a Part-Timer, yeah, it's maintaining, it was A tier last time, it maintains that spot. I don't think it quite breaks into S tier. Man, this is a really good show. Ugh, I gotta stay hydrated, good lord. Oh, okay, Gate. I actually rewatched this one not too long ago, like maybe like a month ago, and honestly, I'm pissed at Gate because those first group of episodes, like the first like 5-6 episodes, are so good. Like honestly, you could say the first half of Gate is so good. Like when they go back through the gate and go back to Japan and like we're seeing like the political kind of stuff going on, that's so cool. And then it just decreases rapidly after the halfway point. With the whole thing with Zorzel was an awful antagonist, but the premise of Gate is just so cool. Instead of like we have a portal to another world opens up. That's so generic, right? We've seen that before. But instead of we're sending like our freaking otakus through it, we're gonna send the freaking military through it. That is so dope. That time I got reincarnated in another world with my military. All right, that is such a cool premise. And they take such big steps with like showing like the political dynamics of like what access to a new world would mean in terms of like our world and everything. Like, oh, we have all these natural resources and there's no pollution in this new world. Like, this could destabilize the world's economy. And it's true, it would do that. In the second half, it stops doing stuff like that and just like has these really focused stories on like individual characters, some of these characters being awful. So really, guys, the second half just takes it down so much. I think Gate belongs in C tier. I don't think it's as good as these two. I really don't. Kumo Desuka kind of has the same problem, but I don't think the decline was that sharp in the second half as opposed to Gate. Okay, next we have Arifureta. Arifureta, I said this in my last video on this, but Arifureta is one of my guilty pleasure shows. But I know it's trash, guys. I know it's such a bad anime. But yeah, it's generic as hell. Everyone knows it, and like looking at it as an anime, like it's freaking trash, dude. It's going in D tier though. Like it goes along with these shows as like shows I enjoyed, but I don't think they're like good, but like I enjoyed them, All right, next we're gonna go with Grimgar. Grimgar, I think, will have the largest shift in placement on this list from my last video. So in my last video, Isekai video, I said Grimgar put me to sleep, episode 3, several years ago when I watched it. I rewatched it about a month ago, and I like this show. I think this show is pretty good. I have a whole video on Grimgar talking about it. You guys can check that out. I'll probably put like a card or something here. But I'm telling you right now, Grimgar is gonna go in B tier. There are some things wrong with it. The main problem being that like it never got a season 2, which is a crime. I think they put this one in E tier in my last video, and now it's in B tier. So it went up 3 places. Like that's a huge. That shows you how differently I think of this show. I think this show is a good isekai. And the last one on the list, we got Log Horizon. I think Log Horizon is still pretty good. I've said this before, but I view Log Horizon as SAO if it was actually made by a guy who understands video games, because it truly feels like I'm watching people who are trapped in a real like MMO and how they're dealing with that. Also, the cast is huge in Log Horizon, but I think Log Horizon is great. Honestly, I enjoyed Log Horizon a lot. I'm gonna put Log Horizon in A tier. I think it deserves that. And so that's the list. I'm gonna reevaluate this list here. I'm gonna look it over really quick. Honestly, it stings putting SAO that high, but Alicization is better. And also, by the way, in these in the actual tiers, there's no like placings. Like honestly, the ones that I'm most conflicted about are all the ones in the B, C, and D tiers. Like some of these might move down, but I don't think any of these would move up. So like Soma Spider, so what? I couldn't reason it ever being in A tier, but I could reason it being in C tier. Like Skeleton Knight in Another World, I could reason it being in D tier, but it would never hit B tier, in my opinion. Yeah, this is kind of, these 3 tiers are kind of the ones that I would think the most about, like in terms of switching it up. But that's the list, everyone, and those are my thoughts on these 28 isekai and where I rank them on this tier list. And of course, these aren't the only isekai anime that are out there. I didn't want to make this video 2 hours, so maybe I'll make another one down the road, who knows. And actually, my next goal in terms of like what I want to watch, I actually want to watch all the isekai anime on the old list that I hadn't seen before, and I kind of want to redo that one too, because it had a lot of like older ones. Like I still haven't seen Dot Hack, I still haven't seen Now and Then, Here and Now, like some of the older isekais, and I really want to watch those. Like I heard Dot Hack is amazing. So everyone, what did you think? And obviously we're gonna have disagreements. This tier list is entirely my opinion, so we're gonna have our own thoughts on where we think things lie, but that's okay, and I'm more than happy to hear what you guys think as well. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I want to hear from you guys as always. With that being said, I want to thank you all for watching to the very end of the video, and I will see you all next time. Bye.